We're going to continue with chapter 27 of the Green Ember. So this will be 27b. Heather sat at the table alone. She felt lost, like she didn't even have enough information to know whether or not to constantly worry. No one had told her where to go or what to do today. Strangers had so often shot her the unkindest looks. What did that mean? Who could Kyle have met when he said important rabbits didn't want them there? She was frustrated. When would answers come? The thought of visiting the Story Guild made her panic. Her other interest, healing, was another matter. She was interested in starting at once, but Emma had told her that they weren't asking anyone else on for another few months. That would be after Dr. Ziegler got back and finished the first season of the current apprentices, which included Emma. That left her caught in between. How odd that sullen Pickett had found a place here when she had not. She couldn't even talk to Mrs. Weaver right now because she knew Pickett was with her. She wasn't about to sit around and brood about what Kyle had said, though she felt a nagging worry creep into her mind and settle. She trusted Emma but felt like Kyle might be telling the truth. There was only one thing left to do. She would wander around and explore and try to find some answers ahead of initiation tonight. She might even be able to find Kyle again, though he was pretty good at disappearing. Sorry, Betty. In a few minutes, she was heading up the long stone stairway, not certain where to start. Lord Rake had said they would have their initiate's lessons in Light Hall. She was glad, but she wondered why they would be allowed in now. Gord had said no one was allowed in there yet. Was it completed? Would they make an exception for them? If so, why them? They were nobody special. There was nothing about their family to deserve any special honor. Or was there? Why was Lord Rake so concerned about Pickett being with Helmer? So much was possible. Everything felt shrouded in a mystery as heavy as the fog covering the mountaintop. She could imagine beyond it, like the painters on Mrs. Weaver's porch, but she didn't know what was truly there. She believed it might be only a barren wasteland. She took the last steps, 2 at a time, and sprang into King Whitson's garden. She immediately felt bad, for her noisy entrance had apparently disrupted the quiet contemplation of an older couple. They were both a graying brown color. They'd been sitting on a bench, holding hands, heads together, but sat back quickly with a look of mild alarm when she thundered in. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, sliding to a stop. "Never mind, dear," the lady said. "It was time we got to work anyway." They rose slowly and in hand made their way down the brick path toward Hallway Round. She wondered where they'd be headed. The great hall, the village green, or the mossy, fog-drenched porch? Everyone has somewhere to go but me, but I'm going to find some answers today. Now, she had all of King Whitson's garden to herself and was amazed that no one else was there. Maybe it was like Mrs. Weaver, a precious commodity that no one felt right about keeping for themselves very long. She wandered around, looking at flowers and plants, smiling and trying to allow the serenity of the place to calm her nerves and ease her worries. She fingered the split in her ear. She thought of tying a bow there or seeing if a doctor could sew it together again. But something in her wanted to just leave it alone. It was a mark of their journey and who she was becoming. Small as it said, it didn't diminish her beauty. She sometimes wore a bow, but not one to cover that ear. Pretty, yes, but I'll be who I am and remember where I've been. Thoughts of the Story Guild haunted her. Emma had said there was a place for her, that she'd spoken to the master and reserved her a spot. All she had to do was to go to the great hall and find their section, walk in, and take her place. She tried to distract herself by peering into the windows of Light Hall, but there was nothing to see in that hallway, just a wall of beautiful multicolored glass. The real mystery was further in, where nothing could be seen, but plenty heard. There was the consistent sound of cutting, hammering, and low talk. Then, just as she had given up and planned to head for the village green, she saw a white form pass before one of the low windows. Smalls. What was he up in there? She knew he must be sad about his father, maybe being in a place where artists were at work reminded Smalls of him. She didn't want to disturb him, but she wanted to have a look. She crept along the path. When the path ended, she waded into the mulch and plants, directly behind a wooden panel on the outside of Light Hall. She was only a few feet from the door. She heard voices. Was she eavesdropping again? She had done it on the boat, had listened to Uncle Wilfred and Smalls for a few minutes until Pickett had woken up. But that had just happened naturally. This was deliberate. Was it wrong? Of course it was. Just as she made up her mind to leave, the voices grew closer and clearer. Now she froze, afraid of being seen or heard. I have to go out for some supplies, an older voice said. I'll be back soon. All right, Master Glazier, came another voice, a familiar voice. Smalls, I'll stay here for a little while, thanks. You're welcome any time, the older rabbit said, and please call me Luth. It pleases me that you feel close to your father here. There was a short silence. Very few, Smalls began. I know it, Luth Glazier said. You don't need to tell me. I understand. Heather heard footsteps, a door opening, then closing. Thankfully, he hadn't left by the door near her. She sighed and stood up slowly. Then she heard more footsteps and saw a shape through the broken foliage walking down the path toward her. She ducked low again, hiding behind the cover of a large bush. She was too afraid to look up and see who it was. She heard the door open and someone go in. By the time she looked again, the door was closing. She moved toward the path but heard an urgent voice. It's bad, Smalls. It was Uncle Wilfred. Pacer says the wolf patrols get closer every day. Their garrison down at Decker's Landing is growing. They seem to know something's up here. And Harborne? Smalls asked. Harborne's citadel won't last much longer, I'm afraid. Why not? Smalls said, irritation plain in his tone. Can't they just hold it together a little while longer, a few more months? That's just it, Uncle Wilfred said. They don't think it'll only be a little while. They think it's more likely we'll all be betrayed, discovered, and well, you know what happens after that. You must plead with them, Smalls said. I have, he said, frustrated, but they just don't trust me. There was a long silence. Wretches, Smalls said bitterly. Heather stood frozen, eager to hear what it was happening outside those walls. But now she was overcome by guilt. She wanted to get away. She searched for a way to escape silently. But you know it must be hard for them, Uncle Wilfred said. I look just like him. Just like who? Wondered Heather. She knew of only one rabbit who looked like her Uncle Wilfred. A dread settled over her, holding her motionless. Now she shook free, remembering her determination to get away. Now she wanted to go and go quickly. She was afraid of what she might hear. She stepped carefully out of her hiding spot and tiptoed down the path. It's not fair, Smalls said. I would do the same if I was them. How can anyone trust me or anyone in my family, Uncle Wilfred said. That was the last Heather heard as she ran along the path and down the stone stairway. Her mind raced as she ran back to her room. Why would Uncle Wilfred believe no one should trust anyone in her family? A sickening dread came over her, along with a flurry of questions she couldn't answer. Why had Father fled so far away from everyone? Who was the Lady Glen? Was Father a traitor, conspiring with her? Was Mother in on everything? Why had Father wept so much? And he never wept. When he told her and Pickett of King Jupiter's betrayal, did he have something to regret? She'd always wanted to be like her parents. She'd wanted answers, wanted the truth. Now, however, she wasn't sure about any of those things. It's the end of chapter 27.